What is up, everybody? Eric here again, Traveling Trading. Um, Making this quick little video for you guys. I know it's been a minute since I've been able to hop on here, but decided to make this real quickly here just to kind of give you guys a quick little update. It's the beginning of June. We're halfway through the year. So I just want to kind of give you a little update on progress, but mostly I wanted to utilize this moment here, especially with the way the market has been and what we trade, to give this a little bit of time to be a teachable moment for a lot of you guys who are still, freshly into this. So today was a good day for me, as you guys seen in the Facebook group, you know, a little over 15K here today on one of our trades. But mainly in this email, I want to touch on not a trade that I've taken, but a trade another profitable trader has taken and kind of give you guys my thoughts and, you know, basically my insight on that. And just to kind of help you guys understand the differences in between trading and traders and why I say, it's a very unique thing that there's no cookie cutter strategy or solution, that you do got to cater yourself to the market and cater the market to yourself. So, and that's a lot of the things I try to teach you guys in there in the trading course too, that, hey, you gotta, understand you're only gonna have but so many answers. You're gonna have to go through things and figure it out. So this right here is a great example. I want to compare like my trades versus another popular trader for you guys that a lot of you probably know. And we'll kind of go into that in a second. And then I'll recap the trade that I took today because it was a really good one here. But overall, as you guys can see, the market has still been pretty decent. I mean, a lot of you guys banked on that SBET alert. Kudos to you guys who stuck that through. That was a big money day for us. We had other big days too, like BMGL, which is one of the ones we're going to go over. And today was a great trade with MCTR. So just kind of keeping that consistency and staying diligent is what it's all about. And that's what the alerts are there for you guys to help you out with doing that. Okay. So without further ado, let's kind of go into it here. So the trade we're going to review here today is a trade that I did not take, and why I tell you guys not every trade is your trade, even though if alert things go off, if it's not fitting you as a trader, it's not going to, work out. So it's a trade that I didn't take, but a very popular trader took, and we're going to kind of review what they kind of did and see what you can learn from that too, because this is a lot of things that I do teach in the course that can't really be taught, you know, until you go through the experience of it. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to take a look at Timothy Sykes' trade. If you don't know who Timothy Sykes is, he's probably one of the more popular traders on the space here. A lot of people have probably gotten introduced to trading from him. I know me personally, years and years and years ago, I started following him. You've probably seen some of the ads he had with, like, the Lambo stuff. Like, even the traders nowadays even make fun of, like, his little Lambo commercials and things like that. But I've never taken any of his courses and like that. I do follow him, and I follow a lot of other traders as well too, just to kind of see what they're talking about and things like that. But every trader is different. He actually is one of the ones who got me into looking into like small caps and things like that. But we're kind of like opposite traders. He likes to sometimes short. Mostly he's a good short trader, whereas me, like, I'm a more of a long trader, and kind of vice versa. But every now and then, even traders that are experienced like himself and myself, we might do different things, but that'll come in time as you become more experienced in the market. But we're going to review one of his trades that he posted in his little Profitly, server and things like that. I don't follow him as much anymore. I forgot the thing was even going, so I got a little notification about one of his trades that he posted. I can't speak to the transparency and what he does in his trade because I don't really know him like that. But like for you guys, I try to post all of them in the Facebook group. It's free for you to check out and look at all my trades here. And I'm assuming he does the same for his followers or people who are in his stuff. I have seen some of his programs. They're pretty decent. But at the time when I was there, I didn't have money to be doing all that. So, which is why I have, like, everything that I do be like affordable and free, because I try to pay it forward for you guys. Because I know what it's like to be in that position and not have money but wanting to learn how to trade, So without further ado, let's kind of get into his trade, and then we'll review why I didn't take it and vice versa. So no worries. But let me actually get it pulled up here so we can take a look at it. So here we go. Let's kind of pull it up here. This is where he said his trade was. So Absolutely terrible trade, he said. Officially the worst trade of his 2025. It's such a boneheaded mistake to do. He accidentally executed in the mid $7 range for BMGL, the stock that he tried to long, it looks like. Um, he was looking onto it to do a potential dip buy, and I'll kind of explain to you guys what that looks like, and we'll kind of review that too. But apparently, he forgot to cancel his order. By the time he realized it, it was already in the fives, and he tried to dig himself out of the hole by averaging down, which again, you don't want to do, but even experienced guys like him make that mistake sometimes too. It's just an emotional thing. But but it kept holding down, and he just threw in a towel and gave it up in the threes. So sucking it up, he took a huge unnecessary loss, and he did a video on it for his followers and people who were subscribed to him that wiped out all the gains he had in May. So lack of discipline, and yeah, that's typically what happens when you lack that discipline. That's exactly what happens. So that's why it's important, and why I tell you guys, sticking to your strategy and managing your risk is going to be very important to stay in this game. Now, if you were another trader and you didn't have the capital that he has and you did that, this could potentially wipe you out completely, you know? Um, so that's something to kind of keep in mind, right? That discipline is very, very important. And why when you're paper trading, of course, you're not going to have that discipline because you're not actually losing money. But when it starts to hit with real money, it's going to feel a little bit different. And it's going to be harder for you to want to actually execute an order and do what you need to do, you know? But let's kind of take a look at some of his entries and his exits and things like that. These are the things that you should be journaling, not just, your entries and exit, your profits and losses and et cetera, not just the data, but you need to be journaling the emotional things as well too, because you need to review these to find out what areas you're weak in and start to improve in as you're becoming a trader. So you can see his entry here was $6.60, right? So he got in at that dollar amount, and then he got out at what, $3.51. So took that little loss there. That's almost like a 51% loss, over 50% loss. So that's pretty tough. And he had $4,500 of each share. You guys know me. I know my risk tolerance. Yeah, so he lost what, 46%? So I don't trade with that much shares, no matter what dollar amount I'm trading. It's usually going to be 500 bucks or 500 shares at the max for me. So I'm risking no more than, you know, 10 grand to $500 when I'm doing my trade. But again, to each his own. You gotta, assume what's good for you and go from there. Okay. So at this point, he was trading with about roughly almost 30 grand worth of capital doing this. So, and then you can see some of the reviews there. He had, people posting that, similar things happened to them this past month, things like that. So again, guys, keeping locked into your plan is necessary. And there's no telling what happened during this time. He probably, like you said, he forgot to cancel. He accidentally got it executed um, in the mid sevens and was trying to do a dip buy, but forgot to cancel his order. I mean, to be honest with you, that's just the not just a lack of discipline, but that's carelessness. And I don't know if something was happening during that time because that's happened to me too when I've gotten in trades and something happened, I had to go do something and I forget to cancel it. But that's why you need to be isolating yourself. It's boring, but you got to be focused when you're in these trades, depending on how you trade. Sometimes you got to sit there for minutes and hours on end. Other times you don't have to. So it just varies from person to person. But this is a prime example of why these little things that I teach you guys in the course are, important. So let's take a look at BMGL. Okay, so he executed this trade. This was on the 2nd, I believe, of June. Let's take a look at it here. So let me pull it up for you guys. Now, mind you, another thing about that too, look how high he was getting into this thing. I mean, we got the alerts when, let me actually pull it up here for you guys. So we first got the alert of BMGL about to rise, and he was going to long it too. Let's take a look here. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. All right. Oops, sorry. Refresh that. So BMGL, I believe we got that first alert right here with the first one at $1.99, and this was on May 30th. Now, mind you, he took his trade like what, days later? So let's take a look here at May 30th. That's around here. So we were alerted here. We were alerted here, guys, about this trade, right? Pullbacks, boom, pops a new high, still in bullish territory, boom, pulls back support, pops a new high, boom, pulls back for support, pops a new high, and then just goes on throughout the rest of the day. Again, I didn't take this trade. I wish I would have, but I didn't, and just missed out on this. And then you had the next day, which is pretty much May 30th, and here's where he started to trade. So mind you, right, he got in at $7. We were getting this alert all throughout that time. All this time, people had to get in. Okay. Um, so he got in at what he said, $6.60. There's no telling what time of day that he got in, but kind of just looking at this chart, I would say, let me get this pulled up here real quick. Should have got a bigger screen. Let me actually, no, we'll do it later here. Let me make it bigger. Oop, delete that. He had to have gotten somewhere in this range, $6.60. And I'm assuming it's on the latter end. Why? Because this is pre-market. I don't know. Again, I can't speak to how he trades, but maybe more than likely, I don't really see him doing pre-market trades. It could be possible. You know, anything is possible. But let's just put it right here. All right. Oops, straighten it out. And the reason why I say he probably got it right here is because look, he said he wanted to dip by it, right? Now look at what happened with this. So it's good that he went in with a strategy. He was planning along in it. But like he said, he should have stuck to his plan and cut his losses where he was supposed to. Because by then, I mean, if you haven't gotten into it, remember, this right here, guys, is all pre-market. You guys know how I trade, right? If I'm going to long something, I'll get in it to support, but I need to see it break. If it's not breaking right here at this point, by the time it's turned, try to turn several times, go ahead and get out, especially if it breaks your level of support. And even especially if it's down here, and then you got this little resistance here. Yeah, so this makes perfect sense of why, how that could have happened. So let's just say, again, he didn't get into pre-market because pre-market is good to use as a guide if you're not getting in and trading at that time to what it could possibly, look like throughout the day. Again, it's not a foolproof thing, but it's a good idea because you still have those orders that got executed in pre-market, right? So he got into the 660 looking for the support, had a little bit of pop. So he had, I don't know what his profit take area was going to be, but you still had a little bit of a boink all the way up to the $9 range. So he had like a $3 range. I don't know if he was shooting for pre-market highs or what, but either way it goes, above that 660, even the indicators are kind of showing like, hey, so it's pop and then it dies and it pops again and it starts to die again. At this point, you probably should start looking to take things. And you got, like he said, it halted, and I believe this was a halt down area here as well. And then it finally broke. So, like he said, he was being stubborn, didn't take it around the fives, which is a good area to have a first level of, just taking a loss. But it got all the way down to the threes. And then it just grinded out from the fours down to the threes. And again, it just kind of came back to where it once was. So, more than likely, he was taking his loss all the way into there or not. But again, that's pretty much what happened when he could have just, got in, took profits, and or broke even, waited for another better entry to see how that would have played out, and then go from there. Because he still entered in at 660, he still had the ability to at least try to get back in at that point. But hey, anyways, to each his own. That's kind of the trade that he did there. So again, for me, I didn't take the trade because I forgot. I think I was either busy or I just wasn't seeing no. I wasn't seeing enough to make me want to actually get into the trade. Um, I would have probably approached it a little bit differently, um, as you can see. But hey, to each his own. Every trader is different. So that's pretty much how he played out that trade for him versus me. So hey, he had a loss of 40 something percent. I had a loss of zero because I didn't take the trade. Again, guys, every trade is not for you. Even though this was alerted and it had a good run in pre-market, I could have traded it pre-market, but I didn't. So again, to each his own. So that's pretty much how his trade went out today. So hopefully, he recovers for that. I'm not going to wish bad on any trader, but it is what it is, right? So you got to be able to take those wins and losses at the same rate. And Tim is a really good trader. He has a good record and things like that. And some of the people he mentored, I think, has good records. But that came with everybody learning how their place is in the market, maximizing their potential in the market of how they trade. Okay. So there's that. Now let's kind of get into my trade that I did today. Let me pull it up for us here because I posted it for you guys, but it was MCTR. Let's go ahead and get into it. And I'll post the results after I kind of review it with you guys. But this was basically just like a let it ride trade today. Okay. Pretty good trade though. We got the alert, let me see, pretty early, I believe too. So that was pretty awesome there. Let me actually go down. All right, I'll show you guys here. We got that alert first early, I believe, at about when it was halted in opening bell this morning. So let's see here where we're at with this trade. Look how high this bad boy went. Man, it was crazy. Okay. So, and that's kind of a little trigger there too, guys. When you get that alert, now that the market's back to normal and all the weak traders are fizzled out, you'll start to see these things become a little bit more obvious to read. So one of the first alerts we got, let's see here if I can find it. Okay, so it might have been that halt at 8:45 there. Yeah, halted 8:45. I don't think it's had any recent news, so there's that. But let's kind of get into it because I didn't get into this trade until much later, guys. I got in this trade at like $11 or $13.26, right? So again, here it does. Halted, then it finally, popped up afterwards. We had some movement in pre-market, but it wasn't alerted because the volume wasn't really there. And then it finally hit the trigger there with the halt. All right. And then, it showed some strength there, pulled back, try to pop, boom, boom, boom. Now, again, obviously, when this happens, you're looking for, hey, another good signal is if it breaks this high, some more strength can come, right? We know that. So, new highs become new levels of support, right? So it pops up and boom, I get into the $13 range, which is like, let me pull it up here, which is like right here. Boom. $13.26 to be exact. So let's play that out right quick. All right. 13.26. We'll just get it close to it as we can. Basically right there. Now, when you're looking at this here, guys, how you gonna manage your risk and the reward is up to you. So again, for me, I didn't really I gave it a range of about a good $3 to $4 loss that I could take. Um, and obviously, I'm knowing that the ups and the downs are going to come. That's just how the stock is. That's just how the market plays. Once you know that, you can set your range to whatever you think is going to be suitable. And for me, it was that range because again, what do I tell you guys? The new level of you know the new highs becomes a new low. So that level, that resistance level that we did, that we broke through there right there, became the new level of support, right? And so because of that, I let the stock just play out. Okay. So obviously once it does all that, boom, 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 halts it and it shoots up, guess what? We're in the green, right? So what can I do at this point, guys? We're in the green. Can I take profits? Absolutely. But I can just let it ride out also too, right? Look at where we are in this time frame. Okay. This is towards the end of the day. We know what power hour does. We know what power hour is. You learned this in the course, right? So strength is going to come there. All right. Volume is going to come there. So if it's already in that thing, I mean, again, it can break and just collapse. It's possible, but am I willing to risk that? Yes, because I'm green at this point. If you want to just start taking profits gradually, like I mentioned in the alerts, you can do that. But because of the fact that it kept going, I just let it ride out somewhere after hours, and I believe I stopped pretty high. I got out at like almost close to $48, which is awesome. So it went all the way up to like 49 or something like that, I think. Um, but yeah, it went up pretty high. So I almost grabbed this bad boy at the peak, which is good. But I cut it out after hours because I had to run, so which is why I'm making this video so late. But that's pretty much how I got the bulk of that move there today. And this was a good, what, 17 grand profit? It's great. Great. Not bad. Not bad at all. So anyways, guys, that was pretty much BMGL. So you kind of understand why I'm letting, my winners win. But again, don't be afraid to take profits. Green is green. If you got to do that over and over and over again, compounding is your friend. And then as you get more experience, you'll be able to, set your ranges to where you want to where, you're taking more profits. Okay. But guys, That is why it's important to know what you're trading, how you are as a trader. Why is it important to have alerts early so you can see these things before everyone else does? Because everyone won't come until afterwards. That's when the fun begins. And just stick with it. It's going to be hard to choose which stocks you want to trade, but it won't be hard to choose when you know what strategy you do trade. You'll know what to look for. Okay. So there's that. But I'll try to make some more of these videos and keep you guys up to date with things. We got more stuff coming. I do apologize. I just been having a lot going on. So if you guys have any questions, message me, email me. I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can. But we're halfway through the year, guys. These kind of plays are still happening. This is why people who do this for a living do it for a living because it can be done. And just, enjoy the journey. All right. Till next time, guys. Stay green.